Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Prasamsa Hamal, and I am a proud alum of LinkedIn University. And today we are honored to have Dr. Murad Mutbal with us today, who will be sharing his insights on information technology and human behavior. In today's world, technology is shaping how we communicate, work, and think. Innovations like AI, automation, and deepfakes are not only transforming industries, but are also affecting our trust in media and influencing mental health. With people spending hours each day on screen, the impact on relationship and decision making, human behavior are profound. As a future professional in digital world, understanding these effects will be key to navigating our digital life and also making the informed choices. So to help us understand this better, we have Dr. Murad Mukbal with us today. Dr. Mukbal is an associate professor of information systems at Robert C. Bacall College of Business and Entrepreneurship and director of Masters of Business in Analytics at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, with expertise in AI, automation, and information system. He has made a significant contribution to the field, gaining recognition from local and international media. And today he will share his key insights on evolving role of IT on our daily lives. Before we begin, Dr. Mukbal, may I ask if you would prefer students to ask you questions during your presentation, or if you would like them to wait until the end?
So yeah, I have prepared a presentation. It will be great if we can take notes of the questions and ask them at the end.
Okay, perfect. Once again, on behalf of the Lincoln University, we sincerely appreciate this opportunity. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Murad Mukbal. Dr. Mukbal, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So let me share my screen. And first of all, I would like to thank you, Dr. Talib, for inviting me, and thank you all who are attending this presentation, where I am going to talk about my research journey, and I will actually provide a lot of lessons learned that I have learned through those journey, and hopefully that will enable you kind of to avoid some of the issues that I went through, and we will go from there. So thank you for introducing me. And then, so let me start by introducing kind of a little background about me. I came to the United States in 2002 after high school, where I double majored in business administration and information systems at the Emporia State University in Kansas. I graduated cum laude, and then I did my MBA with a concentration in information systems at the same university. 2008, where there was a recession, I was lucky to get a job at H&R Block, headquarter in Kansas City, Missouri, where I was working in the IT department there. So that helped me kind of get that industry, corporate America experience before I get into the PhD program. And I was admitted to several universities for the PhD program, and I decided to go to Texas A&M, where I graduated in 3 years. So that's one first lesson learned, is not to graduate within 3 years if you are in a doctoral program, because that's too fast and too quick. For me, I had my own personal reasons why I wanted to graduate in 3 years. But if I have to do it again, I would not graduate in 3 years. I would definitely go with the average 4 to 5, because I missed out a lot in terms of working with my peers who are PhD students. I missed out on working with my faculty as well, my advisors, before I graduated, because when you graduate, you have to have some assets, which is, in our case, our currency is research, publications. So that will kind of decide where you go, whether you want to go for a teaching university, you want to go for research university, and that also plays a role in the salary as well, and also the prestige and so on. So for me, that's one thing that I would have done differently. So after I graduated from Texas A&M, I accepted a teaching offer in San Antonio for 1 year, and then I moved on to the University of Kansas Medical Center, where it was totally different. You know, I grew up in a school of business and my undergrad, my master's, my PhD, and then I went to a school of medicine or a school of health profession and a school of nursing. So I got a dual position there, which means I was working for the health information system, health information management department in the health profession school, and I was working in the health informatics in the graduate school for the school of nursing. And that's another lesson learned. If you have an opportunity and you get an offer where you are going to work for two different departments, two different schools, it is going to be too much headache because they have their own criteria. So they were really in need for me. They developed and created a tenure track position for me there. But every school has their own requirement, and it was causing me some stress, to be honest with you, some uncertainty. And I felt homeless because my home is school of business and I went to school of profession, school of nursing. I felt really homeless at that time, and I decided to go back to school of business. So yeah, but I learned a lot through that experience. I developed health analytics courses at school there in University of Kansas, and then I joined the University of Oklahoma in Norman, where they also offered me a teaching track position. And I developed also some courses for them, but I really also felt bad about myself because every time we would have a meeting, they would mention, well, this funding for conferences only for those who are on tenure track, but for those who are non-tenure track, they are eligible for this and that. So I really felt like I was second class faculty at that time. It's not in terms of race, but in terms of ranking, right? For me, I like research. I published in good journals, and I felt like really, no, that might not be, teaching is not only for me. I don't like teaching only, so I would like to have a more balanced kind of position. And also, when I attend conferences, they would always ask me, "Oh, are you an assistant professor? Are you, you know?" And then I tell them non-tenure track, and then kind of I felt bad about myself. So then I started looking for other placement, and I was lucky to get accepted into the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, where they are more balanced. So I'm teaching two courses every semester, fall and spring. And also, I am provided with resources for research. And because of my experience, they asked me to lead that Master of Science in Business Analytics. That's another lesson learned. When I first came the first year, they saw that I have already developed courses in business analytics, and they developed this new program in analytics. And a few faculty had experience with analytics, and they saw that I had already experience. They said they wanted me to lead that, although I was still a tenure track assistant professor at that time, and it's supposed to be for a tenure person. So they approached me, and they told me, well, we would like you to lead this, to direct this program. What do you think? Can you think about it and let us know, and don't feel obliged? So I asked my mentors. I have a mentor. She is in University in Singapore. And she told me, my advice for you is to accept this service requirement they want you to do. Because if you didn't accept, it might hunt you down when you go up for tenure. So I took her advice, and I told them, sure, I will do it. Although at that time, actually, when they asked me, I was already meeting all the requirements for tenure. So I already had enough publications, they had enough surveys, they had enough. So I was kind of set. And then she said, just go for it. Otherwise, it's going to hunt you down later on. So that was kind of another lesson learned. If you are in a position, after you graduate from Lincoln University, then you can, or Lincoln College, then you can, and you are approached to do some service, weigh your options. And I would not encourage you to say no, but if there is an opportunity for your growth and for your future needs, you might say yes, because it will help you later on. So that really helped me a lot. So that's kind of about me, my journey here at UTRGV. And since I graduated in 2012, I have published more than 40 peer-reviewed journal articles in high-impact elite journals and also medium impact, and also some that they are not ranked because we go by the ABS ranking of journals. There is the ABDC, which is the Australian Dean's ranking list, and there is the British one. So we go with the British one, which is a little bit kind of higher level for ranking journals in each of the fields. So in my field, information systems, we follow the ABS, which is more rigorous, harder kind of to get. So I have published one elite and a couple of 12 high impact journals in that. And as you can see that a lot of people have been citing my work. So I have more than 2,030 citations for my work throughout those years, which kind of talks about the impact of my work. That means my work really has an impact on other researchers and helps them, they recognize the work that my work has impacted. And as you can see that those 40 publications, that means on average, I have been publishing 3 papers every year. And so for that, I learned a lesson from one of my faculty when I was in the PhD program. He said, to be a prolific researcher, you need to work on at least 3 projects every year. So for me, I have been following that tip, and I've been working on, and I also diversified my line of research. That way I am not stuck to only one line of research. So with that, publishing 3 at least on average every year, that means there are a lot of rejections as well with that, right? Because the more you submit your journals, even if you feel like you are really competent in that field, it is all about the reviewers. Sometimes it is about the mood of the reviewer. Maybe they woke up in the wrong side of the bed, right? And they decide to reject your paper. So for that, another lesson is to have a very thick skin. When you get rejected, don't stress about it. For me, I remember the first time I got rejected, I didn't sleep about it, was stressed. And so now, when I get rejected, I say, well, I'm sure there is a better home for this paper than that journal. So I just go with and move on to the other journals. There are plenty of journals that can appreciate your work. So that's one thing. And I will talk about some of my rejections and some how I did with that in a little bit. So my experience, my non-academic experience, so I have a 5-year-old son, and he's keeping me busy, taking him to mixed martial arts, and he loves to talk to Siri. He loves to talk to ChatGPT and ask a lot of questions. And I have also a 2-month daughter, and I'm really blessed to have those 2 kids. So in addition, also I am in the advisory board for Yamana, which is the Yemeni American Medical Association in North America. And I was really honored to be part of that association. And we are trying kind of to make a difference and give back to Yemeni Americans here in the US and also back in Yemen, which is one of the poorest countries in the world. So in terms of academia, I have been also very active as in the advisory boards for major international conferences. I have been also in the advisory board for major journals such as information processing and management, e-collaboration. And I have been also a regular track chair or mini track chair for AMSIS, which is one of the conferences in my area. I have also been mentoring a couple of doctoral students since I was an Our Lady of the Lake in 2012 all the way until today, from this university and also from other universities overall, international universities as well. So there are some universities from South Africa, universities also from Arizona, and so on. So it's always great to give back. And I also give back by reviewing papers. So for us in my field, as you can see, there are open access journals where you have to pay to get published. For me, I don't deal with those. I don't like those open access because some of them, they are predatory. So they might approach you, they will tell you, oh, we have a good deal and this and that. But for us, we have this ranking that I mentioned about. those journals you submit and you publish for free, right? So I always review for those journals that I trust because I publish in them as well. And that way also you learn a lot. When you give, you learn a lot and you get a lot actually. So for me, so most of my research that I have done was inspired by papers they have reviewed for those journals, and it is for free, right? And because when I submit my papers, they ask reviewers to do it for free as well. So that's basically how we give back to our research community. So my work has been also in terms of, as a faculty, we have those three kind of pillars that we stand on. We have the service, the teaching, and the research. So I have received several awards and recognitions for my work in those three areas. So for example, for research, I received the best research paper when I was a PhD student, and that kind of motivated me to do well afterwards. I have also been recognized by my department, also by the college for teaching awards, and also have been recognized by the university for my service and mentoring awards. So going back to my line of research, it focuses on the interaction between information technology and human behavior. So in particular, I look at how information technology impacts work and health-related outcomes. Yeah. So if I can summarize my line of research into 4 areas, I would say it is ITUs, the bright side of ITUs, the dark side of ITUs, which is IT addiction. And I will talk about some of the papers about IT addiction, which is something that all of us actually are experiencing and we are suffering from. And it is very timely. And that's the topic that some of the local news and some radio shows internationally have approached me and they interviewed me regarding smartphone addiction, for example. And then health IT. And last but not least is analytics and AI, machine learning. So let me start by the bright side of IT, and this is kind of one of the earliest papers that I did. So this is one of the earliest papers I did, and let me kind of give you a background about this, how it all started. When I was in the PhD program, the first year, I was approached by the chair of the Information Systems Department of that university in Texas A&M, and he told me, Dr. Murad, I would like you to teach one of our Introduction to Information Systems courses. I know you're a first-year student, but I want you to teach this. I am running out of faculty and adjunct faculty to teach this course. Would you like to teach it? Don't respond to me right now. Think about it for a week and come and tell me after a week. He was a really nice guy, and I really respect that person. So for me, I went and I asked one of my mentors. He was a senior PhD student at another university, and he was also teaching me when I was in my undergrad. And he told me, Murad, you're a first-year student. How do you feel about research? Do you feel confident about your research abilities, your research methods? I told him, not really. I just started. I don't know what PhD is, what research is, but I am still learning. He said, in that case, don't accept teaching because you will get opportunities to teach later on. So I took his advice, and the chair took it really well. So from that advice, he asked me to focus on my research methods and focus on doing research and learning about research. So for that, I reached out to my advisor and I told him I would like to learn research methods that was the first summer for my first year. And I would like to learn SEM because our line of our research is more social behavioral research, which is more survey based. So I asked my advisor, I told him I would like to learn a research method for surveys since that's our bread and butter. And he said, well, you are lucky because I just developed a software called Warp PLS, which is partially squared structural equation modeling software. And because I told him I would like to, if you can recommend a book where I can learn about partially square, he said, well, there are no books so far, and I couldn't find myself. He said, I would recommend that you download the user manual for my software, read it. At the same time, I would like you to solicit from those alumni, students who graduated from under my advisor, and see if they can share with you their data sets for their dissertation, and then you can analyze it and learn the system and learn how to do the analysis, and maybe you can come up with a nice model and we can publish it. That's exactly what I did. I reached out to one of the students there, and she said no. That was my first lesson, kind of to have that thick skin. I was really sad because I don't say no, and I wouldn't have said no, and I didn't expect people to say no, but it was a good lesson. So I went on to the next person, and he said, "Sure, of course." So he shared with me his dissertation. He shared with me his data set, and I replicated the analysis he did for his dissertation using WorkPLS, and it went really well. And then I came up with a really nice model based on his data set, and we ended up actually publishing it, me and my advisor and him. So that was something. Another lesson learned here: be generous. If somebody asks you for your data set, if you have a paper or a research data set, share it and make conditions that you are going to publish with them, right? And it is a win-win situation, to be honest with you. So then I learned that. I said, well, that was a data set from my colleague. How about I create my own data set? And that's when I started. When I was a PhD student, I collected data from employees about social media use and its impact on work-related outcomes, such as job performance, organizational commitment, and job satisfaction. So that project was great. My advisor liked it, although he wanted me to work on my dissertation to be based on his line of research. So he is a philosopher, and he has this theory called media naturalness, which is based on evolution, evolutionary psychology. So he wanted me to work on a project where I created an experiment where we measured the level of fasting of programmers and how that impacts their programming performance. So we created that experiment. We collected data from 150 students in the university. And the requirement, because we are in an international program, I needed to collect data also from another university, from another country. At that time, I had visa issues. You know, my visa already expired. It was 1 year when I came in 2002, and I never been to back home for 10 years at that time. So I couldn't risk it. And I told him I couldn't. So he was really insisting that I collect data. So I asked some of my colleagues to collect data from across the border in Nuevo Laredo in Mexico. But no one will do the work for you, right? It's very hard. So then I told him, can I expand my social media study? That will be easier, especially with the Arab Spring at that time. I was able to kind of collect data, and people were using Facebook at that time. So it was kind of a good opportunity. At first, he says no. He said no. And then 2 months later, he came and he said, yes, let's work on that. And I was so relieved, so happy when he said yes, because that gave me the opportunity kind of to rebel from his line of research, because all of his students who graduated before me, at least 3 or 4, I felt like they were disabled after they graduated because they did the work based on their advisor's interest. And that was kind of to some extent disabling. So for them, I have seen them, they would not be able to publish anything if their advisor is not there. And that was kind of one of the limitations. So that's another lesson learned. If you're in the PhD program, work with your advisor, maybe do your dissertation based on your advisor's interest, but make sure that you have your own papers as well, your own methodology, your own research, because you don't want to be dependent on one person. What if that person is not, your advisor is not doing research, is not active, they got into administration, or then you are going to be, you will not have good future in terms of research. And that's what happens actually to my colleague or my classmates who were depending on his research. So for me, kind of a rebel, maybe that's my personality, rebellious. And I have been publishing a lot by my own. And sometimes I include him, if there is something relevant or I need help from him, I would solicit help from him and I would include him with me. So going back to this paper, so we published this paper, me and him and another co-author, and it was published in High Impact Journal, Information Technology and People. And also I expanded this paper to be my dissertation, and that's why I was able to graduate in 3 years, because I already knew what my dissertation would be by the end of my first year of PhD program, or you can say earlier in the second year. And then my advisor published actually my dissertation on his website, and a lot of people who had access to it. He said a lot of clicks, a lot of downloads from my dissertation, from his website. And I got a lot of emails from all over the world, from China, from India, and from Pakistan. So one student from Pakistan reached out to me and she said, "Can I replicate your dissertation?" Told her, sure, feel free to do that. So she replicated my study, and she got even better results, as you can see here in the right side. So, and that was very timely, because in my field, information systems field at that time, there was actually a report that was, I believe, in NPR, where there was a social psychologist conducted replication studies for 100 studies. So they tried to replicate 100 psychological or social psychology experiments for 100 studies, and only 36 of those 100 studies were replicable. They had the same results. So that raised a lot of questions, that why are those studies are not replicable? So my area, my field, kind of the senior scholars in my field, they decided to start a new journal, and they called it AIS, which is Association of Information Systems for Transactions of Replications. So I was one of the earliest kind of to publish in that, and this is one of the earliest papers to be published in that journal, where we are encouraging replications. Because now if you try to publish a replicated paper in any journal, they will ask you what is new, why are you reinventing the wheel? We already know this. So but there is now a replication journal where you can actually replicate studies, whether it is holding or not, they will publish it for you, just kind of to reinforce science. So that was a great initiative in my area, my field. So then when I went to Kansas, I wanted to kind of evolve from public enterprise, from public social media like Facebook. I wanted to go and evolve my research. So I was working in that health informatics program, which I was teaching graduate students, master's students, as well as doctoral students in the health informatics and nursing. And one of the students wanted to do her thesis or research project with me. And I was brainstorming with her. What I told her, this is my line of research. I do social media. And she said, well, we have an internal social media that we use at work. And she worked for a major health IT company there in Kansas City. And then I told her, well, maybe we can explore this. Can you approach the managers of that system? And she went and she talked to them. She told them, I'm a graduate student working for this project. I would like to work on project with you. And then they saw her last name, and they told her, are you related to the vice president? And she told them, yeah, she's my aunt. And then that helped kind of grease the wheel, and it went faster. And so it was really helpful. So network and connection helps a lot. Kind of that's another lesson learned from that. So then we set up a meeting, and I interviewed with them, or I talked with them. They showed me the system, and we decided. And they told me, this project is very timely, because the higher managers, the top managers, they just had a meeting with us, and they were saying, we need to have tangible justifications for this enterprise social media to exist, because we are giving you resources. If you can give us justifications, tangible justifications to keep it, we are going to eliminate this system. So I told them, well, I think that's exactly what we are going to do. We are trying to collect data from employees about the perceptions, about and how they use the system, and how that really relates to work-related outcomes, such as performance. And we interviewed around 10 employees, and we got kind of ideas what are some of the contributions, how the use of this system leads to better work-related outcomes. One of them was the workplace integration, as you can see here in this model. So when they use enterprise social media at work, it helps them kind of reduce that work isolation, because they have different campuses in different places. When they are working, through email, they feel like isolated because they don't see what you don't. But if you are in that using enterprise social media, you feel like really connected. And also it's like Facebook. You can create work-related groups, or you can even have groups for entertainment, for basketball games or volleyball teams, or just families with kids, or parents with children with autism. They have kind of those kind of groups which can help that work integration. They feel that they are not isolated from each other and from the workplace. So that was one of the earliest papers that was published in a very high impact journal, at least in our list. And so going to the next one, another advice that I got from my committee advisors is that when you are collecting data for a study, collect additional variables. Keep in mind, because you are already collecting data anyways, collect additional variables for at least 2 or 3 studies when you are collecting that data. And I actually have been following that. So when I collected this data from that major health IT company, I had several ideas in my mind. So one was about performance. Another one is about turnover intention. Another one is about the external social media use. And I'm going to talk about it. So this is another study from the same data set, but this is how we looked at how enterprise social media impacts turnover intention among employees. So we found that enterprise social media helps actually reduce turnover intention because it increases that workplace integration, reduces that workplace isolation, increases job satisfaction, and also reduces perceived work stress. So again, uh, in terms of the bright use of social media, this is one of the studies that I decided to work on when I was at the University of Kansas Medical Center. When I was in Kansas, in my orientation, there was one of my colleagues. We were new. She was occupation therapist faculty. And I was also teaching health information technology, health information management, and health informatics. And we said we would like to work together. She was really nice. And, sometimes the personalities play a role when you are collaborating and deciding to work with collaborators. You have kind of to have personality match, right? Because I can work with someone who doesn't match my personality or who is, different from me in different aspects, or I would not agree with, in other words. So we said, okay, let's work together. She's an occupation therapist. I am working in IT, and she told me that she works with children with autism. She screens children with autism in her lab, and she works with a lot of parents of children with autism. And I said, well, let's look at how maybe information technology impacts the caregivers of children with autism. And that's kind of the reason for that is actually personal reason for me. I remember when I was in Yemen, my elder brother, he was a physician. And when he got married, he and his wife would always invite us to their house, would invite other family members and friends to their house. They were very sociable. And then after they got married, they had a son, and then they traveled overseas to do their PhD in medicine. After years, they came back. After they finished, maybe 5 years, 4 or 5 years later, they came back, and then they were totally different. They were isolating themselves. They would not actually allow us kind of to go to their house, and some people were speculating. They said maybe their house is not clean, maybe this, maybe that. But it turned out that their child was diagnosed with autism, and it was the severe side of that spectrum. So he was nonverbal. And as a reason of stigma and blame and staring. So they were isolating themselves, not allowing people kind of to attend or to come to their house. So then when I thought about it in terms of information technology role in that, I said, how can maybe social media kind of help reduce that isolation that parents experience when they have a child with autism? And then we worked on that. We collected that data, and we decided actually that we wanted to publish this in a good journal. So we submitted it to a top journal in my field. It went This particular paper went through two rounds of review, and then they recommended for us that we collect interviews, qualitative study. So we collected interviews, or we did interviews for around 15, 16 people, 16 parents. But for me, when I wanted to collect that data for interviews, I didn't, I just moved from Kansas and I don't have that connection anymore in Kansas. So it was very hard for me to recruit parents. So my wife, she's doing her PhD in rehab counseling. So she knows one of the nonprofit organizations here in McAllen in the Valley. And they said, okay, we can actually put that soliciting announcement for volunteers for interviews in our Facebook account, where people can maybe fill out that screening survey and register to be part of this study. So we did that. I put that link, Qualitrix, and we decided as a team that we are going to pay $50 for every participant in our interview. So within maybe 2 hours, I received more than 300 volunteers. They wanted to be participants in this interview, and I was really happy, excited, because I was really stressed about it because I didn't know anyone. So then I looked at the data. And I tried to. I saw that there was something fishy about it. 302 hours. And then I started kind of to interview some of them kind of for screening to match what they put in the screening survey and then what they will answer for me in person. So I would ask them, what is the gender of your child? How old is your child? When was your child diagnosed with autism and so on? It turned out there were all of them, almost all of them, they were scammers. And I was really devastated and I was so depressed about it. And that was something for me to learn, that when you try to recruit through public social media is not a great way, a great idea. So instead, what I did is I reached out to the psychology department here. I tried to go to our website, the university website, and I found one of the psychology professors. She works actually on a grant with children with autism and parents with autism. And I told her I would like to have access to parents of children with autism. She introduced me to a nonprofit organization, social media influencer. And that influencer, actually, she directed me to real people who are really parents of children with autism. So that was very clean and easy for me. So again, that was kind of a lesson learned. And if you decide, let's say, to collect data and you want to recruit people, there are some websites or platforms for data collection, such as Mechanical Turks. Although now Prolific, there is another website or platform called Prolific. I just used it 2 weeks ago and I feel like more comfortable with it. I haven't used Mechanical Turks, but other researchers, they kind of warn from Mechanical Turks because they have a lot of scammers. And I tried actually myself to register as a participant in those two platforms. Mechanical Turks, they accepted me right away without screening, without anything. Prolific, on the other hand, they asked me to give them a picture of my ID, and they took time kind of to verify my identity. So that's another thing. So in this study, what we are trying to do, we try to kind of to look at how social media is used as a result of that social exclusion of caregivers of children with autism. And the use of social media provides caregivers with empowerment dimensions: power within, which is positive emotions; power with others, which is ASD, support group inclusion; and power over resources, which is the availability of social support. So this paper was submitted, and then after we collected those surveys, the reviewers actually rejected it after almost 3 years of reviews. So that's another thing. 3 years of reviews of this paper, and it was rejected. So we didn't give up. We tried to send it to another journal. It was rejected. And now we sent it to another journal. So we will not give up, right? So this is kind of also another, I remember when I said, when we collect data for one study, I collect additional data so we can do more than one study. So this is another way how I can utilize this data set that I already have. So we looked at how social media actually improves the coping strategies, the coping mechanisms of caregivers of children with autism, which leads to well-being outcomes, right? Positive emotions and reduces negative emotions. So this study also, we submitted it to a journal where reviewers took around 3 years kind of to give us feedback, a first round, second round of reviews, third round of reviews, until the fourth round of reviews, they accepted the paper. And so the reviewers were happy and satisfied with our responses, our work. The associate editor decided, he said, well, your paper is not up to the standards of the journal. So he decided to reject it. So that was really not good news for us. One of my co-authors, he said, no, we're going to escalate this issue. This is not reasonable. But my advisors decided, he said, no, we don't want to do that. That's kind of a lost battle. It's better kind of to forget about it and move on to another journal because we might be red listed. And, so he said, we don't want to get into that arguments. So then we decided to move on. And so far we have been still working on it. And hopefully we can publish it in a better journal. So now in the dark side of IT or the IT addiction, so this is one of the earliest studies that I published in a very top journal called Information Management, where I looked at, in that IT company, I collected data about their Facebook addiction use. And I looked at how that impacts their performance, the employees' performance, and also their health outcome and their health overall. So one of the interesting findings here was how social media addiction impacts performance indirectly through task distraction, increasing that task distraction. As a result of this hypothesis, and I was requested later on, 2 years later, to review a paper where that paper based their study based on this hypothesis that I suggested and I studied. They said previous studies have looked at based on perception-based, right? The impact of social media addiction on task distraction. They wanted to go a notch higher than what I did. So they did eye tracking movement to study task distraction. So they did kind of an experiment, which basically kind of evolution or moving higher to what I did, which was based on my study. So that kind of gave me really nice satisfaction that my research contributes to future research. And then looking at social media addiction and how it impacts the spread of fake news. So that's another study that I wanted to do. And I looked at it from a theoretical perspective. So in our social science, we need to have a theory kind of to justify why we have those particular variables. So for this study, I had one theory. It's called system thinking theory. So system thinking theory, that we have two systems of thinking. System one, which is fast, spontaneous, doesn't require cognitive efforts, and we have system two, which actually is slow. It takes a lot of cognitive efforts and requires time. So an example of those two systems is for system one. If I tell you 1 + 1, automatically you already know the answer, it is 2. So you are using system one, which is 1 + 1, 2, right? But if I ask you, what is the calculation, what is the multiplication of 355 times 317? So for that, you are going to take a calculator and then you are going to plug in the numbers. So it takes time, it takes cognitive efforts, and it's not as autopilot as system one. So that's basically what we argued here, that social media addiction, because of the quick scrolling and the addiction to that, your main focus is on the addictive features of the technology, kind of triggers system one thinking, being fast and quick and autopilot, right? So when you get something, let's say video that is fake news, you don't even bother to verify, you just share it right away with others, or you like it so people can see it, right? So that's basically kind of the idea behind this. And also social media, the more you use it, you are focused on the features of the technology, which is the nudges, the notifications, and the videos and so on, where it kind of reduces the human beings attention span or attention. That's where we included absent-mindedness as a mediator. So also in this study, we looked at how smartphone addiction reduces well-being or health. And the well-being measure there, we used the CDC measure for quality of health related outcomes measure. And then we found that smartphone addiction impacts or reduces the physical and the mental health through burnout because it burns us out. So a lot of us, if we're addicted to social media, before our bedtime, we'll be scrolling just one video on through. Then we pass our bedtime, and then that impacts our sleep. That kind of makes us actually feel burnout the second day, and so on. So that's kind of another finding of this study. So the second line of research is health IT, and I remember for this work in health IT, I was attending one of the earliest conferences for me in my area, and I was introduced to one of the prolific researchers in my area, and she wanted to do research with me in health IT because I was kind of one of the unique unicorns. I am IT guy, but I work in the school of medicine and or medical health professions, school of nursing. She said she wants to work with me, and then we brainstorm, and we said, okay, we can work on patient portal. We know the CIO of the hospital system there in Kansas, University of Kansas, and he was really supportive. And then we said, okay, we are going to study this. And the CIO, we approached him and we decided to do two studies. And I included one of my colleagues. She was in the health information management. She said she wants to collect data from physicians. And I told her I was collect data from patients because I know physicians, they don't respond. They don't have time to respond to the surveys. I collected data from patients by asking actually the CIO to allow us to put our survey link in the front page of the patient portal website. So we collected several data sets or observations through that, and it was really supportive. The CIO was very supportive because we went through a lot of committees. They were at first kind of trying to object, but he was always convincing them this is very important for us. So anyways, we collected this data and we wanted to see how the encouragement of health professionals kind of outweigh the security concerns of patients when they continue to use patient portal. So as you can see here in hypothesis one, health professional encouragement increases the intention or the continuous use intention of patients to use patient portal. On the other hand, security concerns kind of prevents and hinders patients to use patient portal because they are concerned about their privacy, their security of their data, right? But when we look at the interaction here or the moderation of health professionals, so when they are concerned about security and they receive health professionals' encouragement, this relationship turns into positive. So in other words, they are more likely to continue to use patient portal when they receive health professionals encouragement, meaning physicians, the nurses, the administrators there in the clinic of the hospital, while they are also concerned about security. So that was a really interesting study. We sent it to a very high impact journal in our field. We went through all rounds of reviews, first, second, third. Finally, it was accepted. And then there was a shift in the chief and editors. So the chief and editor left that journal, and they appointed two new chiefs of editors for that journal. And then they looked at our paper. One of those chief and editors, he said, your model is too simple to be published in our journal. You either need to make it more complicated or find something interesting, or we are not going to accept it. I mean, that's not, that will not make anyone happy. So luckily, part of my lessons learned is when I collect data for a study, I collect additional variables. So I was able to collect a variable, I called it deep structure actual usage. So this variable was new, and I collected that. And it turned out actually to have better results even, and similar results to what we had earlier. And they ended up actually accepting this paper and was published. This is another study. I collaborated with a physician in the School of Medicine. He knew that he can get a grant, and I designed the study based on theory, and we are working on it using electronic health records and how that the training of electronic health records leads to techno-stress, and how techno-stress can hinder the outcomes, which is performance and HR user satisfaction. So in terms of analytics or AI, I started actually working with some of my colleagues. One of my colleagues was with me at the University of Oklahoma, and I have been working with him. He's a prolific researcher in that area, operations research. And I have also another friend from University of Alabama, and they didn't know each other, and they both work in the same area. I connected them, and they invited me to work with them in this paper, and I did a lot of write-up for them as well for this paper, and we published it in one of the elite journals, which is the European Journal of Operational Research. And this looks at explainable AI. So AI, solves a lot, does a lot of predictions for us, but one of the issues that is the trust in AI. So how can we trust AI? So we need to have that explanation. Which of those variables explain the most prediction? And that's basically how we contributed in this paper, and the severity of accidents. Actually, we have a data set that huge, almost 700,000 observations. And then this is another study. I was approached by one of the PhD students from India when I was in Germany, delivering a talk about one of the conferences. And she said she wants to work with me. I brainstormed with her, and she said she's working on this Amazon reviews, and she wanted me kind of to see how I can help her or how we can work together. And then I thought about it. We analyzed this text mining. We did large language modeling, and we kind of looked at how perceived counterfeit product reviews actually lead to product ratings, and the moderating effect of the length of the review, and how this relationship occurs, which is through positive emotions. So that was kind of all of and I'm working on a couple and several research in the future, focusing more on creativity, and still working on social media, and also on AI. So I will stop here, and I will let you kind of scan or take a picture of this scan. That way you can also tell me about your research interest, and I will stop here, and we can go from there.
Hi, my name is Maria. I'm sorry, I'm off camera today. It's an early morning for me, but I have lots of questions. Thank you for such an insightful guidance through your journey. I have several personal questions which I'm curious about, and several professional. So first of all, I'm also a DBA student. DBA is a Doctor of Business Administration. So here is more a question to you and Dr. Tailab, because from what I understand, DBA is more a solution-orientated approach rather than research, because PhD is more like a research-based, right? That's what you showed. And then DBA is more like you find the real solution which you can solve, and find the solution, and that you can replicate and scale it. Let's say, I'm not sure, like PhD. So what was the major of your PhD?
Information systems.
Information systems. Okay. So yeah, for example, my major is international business. And then in international business, I'm probably going to strive in digital marketing and with AI tools and automation. So I'm not sure if I have to do the research, but what I understand that I have to create the system or the model or the method, right? How I can help potentially like one business and then scale it internationally. However, what I wanted to, what I'm curious about in terms of you mentioned that you have this developing courses. Do you have these methods, how you develop the courses?
So I have developed a couple of courses. So if your question is how to develop courses, developing courses is kind of, I remember when I was in the PhD program, I never had a course to teach me how to teach. So the first semester, actually, after I finished my first year, they throw me to teach stats course because I wanted to teach stats because I wanted to learn stats myself. So that's kind of one way I jumped into stats, business statistics course. And then I taught a programming course while I was in the PhD program and system analysis and design. Those are kind of the main courses in my area. So the best way to teach and to do well kind of in developing a course is to teach a course that you are interested in and you want to learn more about. That's kind of my way. I know in our program here in the PhD program, we have one course for, they call it development course, where they teach you how to teach. They give you, how to market yourself also when you are in the job placement. But developing courses, if you want my advice for me, how I learned to teach some courses throughout the years, and I feel like I learned a lot from my colleagues, and that's one thing I would recommend for you, is to get connected with colleagues at your university or even at the university while you are a doctoral student at the college. See which faculty is kind of you are admiring and you look up to as a great instructor and a great course that you like, and approach them to share the material with you. So for me, when I was, for example, at the University of Oklahoma, that's where I learned how to teach intro to information systems course, where we focus on 4 areas, and I learned a lot from that. At first, sometimes maybe we feel like the ego, but we need to always, in order to learn, we need to kind of lower our ego and feel humble ourselves, because that's how we learn, when we humble ourselves. So I learned from one of my colleagues, and I have been using her materials here, and students go crazy. They love the material that I have been using, and I always thank her. Whenever I see her, I tell her, thank you for sharing your material with me, because I learned a lot and my students love it. So now when I am here, I share my materials with my colleagues as well. And they have been doing really well, getting great reviews in their annual student reviews. So best way to decide, work with the Blackboard department in your university, but at the same time try to solicit within the university or outside the university some of your peers who are teaching that course. That way you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I hope that kind of helps to some extent.
Yeah, that's perfect. Like, I love the aspect that you're sharing the data with other people in order to improve and creating this win-win situation. But it's amazing, because I think it's important in learning to share and then even come up with the better results. And I love that your research had different streams, and the social media, you looked at the mental aspects and the physical aspects, right? So the mental aspects specifically for people who are disabled or have autism had a positive, because they are not moving that much, right? And the negative impact is rather for the people who are more physically active. It's rather more negative, like social media. But yeah, I mean, the range of your researches and expertise is impressive. Final question: why business? What excites you in business? Yeah, what drives you in business?
That's a great question. So I remember when I was in Yemen, I was a 7th grader, and I started my own business while I was in the 7th grader, because there was a war at that time, and I seized the opportunity that there was a war and lack of products, and I had connections kind of to get products to sell in my village. And I started with 500 reals, and within 3 months I doubled. Actually, it became 5,000 reals, and it was really impressive. And I love business. And that time, since then, and then my dad, that was kind of during the summer vacation. And at the end of that summer vacation, my dad came to me. He told me, I have a really nice commercial building in the big city. And I promise you that when you graduate, I'm going to send you to London or the US to study business. And I will give you that whole, commercial building to do whatever you want. But I want you to tell me how much you make every day, and I'm going to give it to you, but I want you to stop your business because I want you to focus on your education. And that's kind of the deal he made with me. I told him I make 50 reals every day, and he gave me for the first 2 weeks, and then after I quit my business, and then he didn't give me any more. So, but I am so grateful to him that he advised me to focus on my education. Otherwise, I would have been kind of illiterate businessman making good money. But that's kind of my interest, how it started. When I came to the United States, he sent me actually with his own money. And I came here as an international student. He paid for my tuition, and he kind of kept his word when he promised me when I was in the 7th grade, and I'm really grateful to him. So I came here as in my mind to do business administration because I wanted to be entrepreneur, kind of to be honest with you. But when I came here, I had one advisor. He met with me. He told me, "Why are you doing business administration?" I told him, "Well, because that's what I want to be an entrepreneur." He said, "No, actually, uh, I would advise you to do information systems because that's the future." I told him, "But I already started taking classes." He said, "You can double major." And then I double majored. I ended up actually doing all my work in information systems rather than business administration. Kind of and this mentor, actually, I'm still working with him on research right now, although he got his full professorship from Kansas and he left. Now he's in Qatar and he comes and visits us. But kind of to answer your question, that's kind of how and why I focused on business.
Yeah, this is a great story. Yeah, I think business is something like what I understood, like the impact that business brings. That's what like really drove you um, to become who you are. But you're like thankful for education. I think the same. Like I think business is great, but you need to be educated and know like the basics, foundations, like finance, marketing, right? So IT is great, like information technology. It's definitely a future, and especially with AI field being like sponsored or like whatever. In like lots of investments are right now at this space, and it's super exciting because it can help humans. I'm not sure how it will replace or like some manual probably jobs, right? In terms of task repetitiveness and administration, because you can automate a lot of things and just follow ups, the same with digital marketing. However, yeah, I mean, IT is something exciting. We just don't have the information technology in DBA. I would definitely go for IT. Like we have just international marketing or finance or human resources. So that was the choice that I made towards like into international business because it's more broader, and then you can dive like layer by layer right into your sphere of interest. But yeah, thank you so much. Your story is very exciting, and like your studies are amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, kind of talking about that AI. AI, that's kind of a motto I always tell my students. AI will replace your job if you don't learn how to work with AI. And that's basically, I believe it holds true for everyone, right? So for you, I think you're international marketing. So you might benefit from scraping data from some of those commercial websites, like maybe Amazon, and kind of deal with that large language models might help. But that's just kind of
No, no,
my opinion.
I love ChatGPT. I'm even thinking about doing my own GPT in terms of like solving the issue. Like I know Copilot, I use Grok, I use different large language models. At this point, I think for the research, maybe depends on your topic and who is represented, because large language model is trained on the data, right? But it's better to take the open source. No, I prefer ChatGPT. I have a personalized, I have it personalized, and I don't just ask questions. I have like my projects where I dive and I study things. So yeah, and I compare to different models because machine is just a machine. You should understand it's limited, and it's derives the data from the content that is published in the internet. Grok is a thinking model, so it finds the truth, like where you have the rule-based models like ChatGPT, Claude, and whatever, Llama, whatever. There are like multiple models which can you just use and compare the material. But yeah, I mean, AI definitely something I'm passionate about, and I think it's an amazing tool, and absolutely anyone should master the prompt engineering at least, and like basics of the AI in order to use it to your advantage. But we are here to review and help AI, and not think that AI will do things for us. You actually have to work double more because you need to be a reviewer. You need to um, understand, think. You need to ask the right questions. You need to be super detailed in order to receive the answer that you are looking for. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Dr. Muqbil, it was very nice introduction, by the way. It has a lot of lessons to everybody. And I have a couple of questions for you, but before that, I'm going to introduce Dr. Timmy Pankus. He's the Dean of Business College here at Lincoln University. He has a very good experience with research and stuff like that. So Dr. Pankus, if you want to say hi to Dr. Murad, it's already well done, but you have time to talk.
Dr. Murat, it's a pleasure of having you here. I'm very sorry I came late. I have no internet connection today. Okay, finally, when it restored, I've done it over and over and over, and I'm very happy that you are here. I've heard some of your analysis. I know you come from another country too, like me. I come from Greece, from United States. So I know exactly pretty much how difficult was it for you, and I've been very impressed with all your credentials, and I sent my how can I put it? My gratitude to you for informing our students regarding all this particular material that you present today. It was a pleasure having you here, and I'm watching carefully, okay, of what the questions are and the answers you're giving. Okay, it's a field that I don't know much. Okay, but I'm happy that you are here. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Really would like to thank you for attending and for welcoming me. And thank you, Dr. Talib, also for inviting me for this. I'm really excited and honored.
Yeah. Anybody, guys, do you have any question?
I have 2 questions, and I'll keep it short and pass it along to my friends if they have any. So my first question is, Professor, like me, you were also international student, and hearing about your story kind of inspired me in a way. But I also have a question that how do you really know which area of the field that you want to delve into research? Because there are so many, and so how do you specifically say think about this is the area, information system is the area, or health is the area that I want to get into? Because you cannot be very broad and like put your hand into all of these things. How do you navigate all of these things? And my second question is, you did really talk about the techno stress, and my question is, does the younger generation have a better way of navigating the techno stress and handling the social media better than the older generation like mine? Because I was born into an era where I had first a CD, and then came a pen drive, there was a phone, and then came a touch phone. So I had to learn and adapt to all of these things. So do the younger generation who are born into the digital world have better tools into navigating techno stress, or it is the same for everybody? So those are only the 2 questions. Thank you.
Perfect. So the first question is, how can you choose a particular topic for research? So there are 3 ways that, at least from my perspective, but I'm sure the professors in this forum can maybe chime in. So number 1 is always keep up to date, reading the latest publications in top journals in your field to see what is the theme that they are kind of discussing. Second one, which is also very important, is your own interest. Sometimes you are interested in solving problems while you are in the doctoral program. You might have already an idea. I really want to solve this dire problem that you're really interested in, but for your research project, it might not be feasible, right? It might require data that is not easy to collect. So in your doctoral program, you need to focus on a research based on your advisor so you can graduate, because your goal is to graduate. And then solving the world's problem should be after you graduate and you have your own position as a faculty, because they know. So that's the second thing. The third thing is talking with other peers, other colleagues who are working on certain areas, when you ask them what is your line of research, they will tell you, because everybody loves to talk about their line of research. Like me, I've been just talking. If you didn't give me a time limit, I might have just kept talking for the whole day, right? If you ask people what is their line of research, you might be inspired by what they do that maybe matches what you really would like to do. And then you say, well, I think about this and this, then you can maybe match something. And then kind of the fourth area would be by reviewing papers. So whether it is for a conference, that's kind of by default. When you submit a paper to a conference, they will definitely ask you to review a paper for them at least, right? So volunteering to review papers for a conference or for a journal, usually top journals would be better to review for them. That kind of inspires you kind of to select what topic you want to focus on, and also on think about the feasibility of collecting data. Sometimes you want to solve problems that data cannot be collected or data is not available. So for example, I wanted to do a study on, we scraped data from Facebook about discussions by those caregivers of children with autism, and also by caregivers of patients with heart disease and diabetes. And I had a data set that talks about the cost, but we wanted to match the locations of the prices of the hospitals, kind of the cost of the hospitals and so on. And with those posts, it was very hard kind of to mesh them together. So that basically broke our project. So that's kind of to answer your question, and kind of relates to what Maria was asking about, since your program is more practical, doctoral business administration is more from the practical side. But in my department, for example, we have some faculty who are, let's say, assistant professor of practice. So maybe that's kind of one of the titles you might be eligible for. But there is still requirement for research, a little bit, maybe 10%, 20%. So it's always kind of good to be ready, but you never know, you might be actually go up for a tenure track, because that's kind of helps also with the pay as well, and your interest as well. So I hope that kind of answer your question. Oh, that's the first.
Definitely, I think that's the first question. Yeah, there's a second one about the technostress and its effect on generation.
Yes. So technostress is kind of related to technology addiction. So from my observation, my studies, also by reviewing papers, they classified people into two groups. They call them digital natives. Those people who are born into technology, and then the digital immigrants, they call them, right? Those people who are not born with technology. Now it is kind of, for me, I have a 5-year-old, he's obsessed about using technology, video games. And I try kind of to prevent him from getting into it, but I think I'm doing him a disservice. Because everybody is doing this, everybody will develop certain skills when they are using this technology. They are using it as it's really easy for them. This is just kind of their way of life. If I prevent him from that, he might actually be behind his peers. But I try kind of to balance between those two. But to answer your question again, those digital natives, they can cope with addiction, with their overuse of technology, with their technostress better than us, which are digital immigrants, because it takes us longer for us kind of to cope and learn those. For them, they learn it while they are young. For us, we learn it when we are older, and we might actually suffer more bad consequences or negative consequences than the young ones.
Thank you very much, Professor. That answers my question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Murad. I have 2 issues with you. I'm going to share it with you, and we need your advice to everybody here. Sure. So according to my experience, I see that a lot of people, students here at Lincoln, they're struggling with how they narrow their research idea. So they come to my office with a very broad research idea. They said, we're going to do research in this, And I told them, this is so big, you cannot cover it just by 1 or 2 researchers. So you need maybe multiple years just to cover the subject. So I tried to guide them how they can narrow that research idea. Some of them don't come back to me, maybe because they are struggling how they narrow the subject. So I think we need your advice to guide them how they can make their research idea very specific. So during the limited time, they can do research on it. The second issue, which is also very common, I think you observe it by yourself as well, is that DBA students are not happy with insignificant results. So they don't report it, they don't want even to mention it. They love just when they see something significant, and that's it. So what's your advice for them if their results were insignificant?
So the first question is how you can come up with a research idea that is more focused. So for me, I teach this research methods course, which is kind of the first course PhD students take in our university. And that course kind of used to rotate. So I taught it 3 years ago, and this year, this coming fall will start. But I am kind of one of the only faculty who requires students who are just fresh PhD students to do primary research for the first time, and they go through the IRB and they collect primary data, and then they analyze the data and write a whole paper about it. So I have some students who might have an idea about what they want. Some students they don't know, but they don't have any idea how they can narrow it down. So then I kind of try to brainstorm with them. I tell them this is what we have. Those are the papers we have discussed in the class, for example, and this, look at my line of research and see if there is something that you might be really interested in. And then kind of, you need to make sure that you have at least one exposure variable, a predictor, important predictor variable, and one criterion, or we call it a target variable, outcome variable that you want to say, at least 2. And then you can do kind of maybe learn the mechanisms, how those 2 variables are interacting with each other. How, for example, in my examples that I showed, how social media addiction impacts health. What are the mechanisms? Is it through stress and burnout? Is it through distraction? Is it what is it through? Is it through negative emotions and positive emotions? That is it because of the lack of sleep, right? So kind of think about it from that perspective. And you need to also keep in mind that when you decide about a research topic, think about an area that you are really interested in, and do kind of you can go to Google Scholar and read some articles about it. So for example, for me, when I came up with this idea of social media impact on work performance, I remember one of my colleagues, he discouraged me. He told me, your idea is so stupid. He said exactly this literally. Your idea is so stupid. A lot of people have done this before. And I was so disappointed. I felt so bad. And I felt really bad. And I was about to give up on that topic. And I went to Google Scholar. I tried to find articles about, I didn't find any, because the problem at that time was the operationalization of the variable that I wanted, which is social media use. Nobody came up with a really strong measure to measure that, to capture that, because it's an abstract, it's a construct, right? So for you, even if a topic is already has been done, there is always something that you can improve and evolve that study to. So one area of how to find, let's say that you are interested in a certain topic that you already know, you can go read the papers and go to their limitations and future directions. They always have something, future research should do this and this and this. Future research should avoid doing this and that. And then you can actually improve upon that and come up with something new and tweak it a little bit. That's basically how research is accumulation of what other people have done in the past, and how you make a dent in that, a little difference in what other people have done. So we don't have some breakthroughs, we are not like Einstein, or, we will come up with something, Big Bang theory, or, right, a relativity theory. So for us in social science, we just make a dent, a little difference or evolution of what other people have done. I hope that kind of answers your question. And I believe how to narrow your question is by talking to your advisor, and then go to your advisor, talk with the advisor, and see how he can, for example, Professor Talib, he can help you kind of narrow it down to something more feasible, something doable, right? Because sometimes you might have something, exciting, important, but it's not doable. So that's kind of where the advisor advice will come, and keep that consistent. For example, for me, I have PhD students I mentor. I tell them to come and meet with me every week, whether they have something new or not, because that kind of will trigger kind of that brainstorming and bouncing ideas until they polish their idea. So I hope that kind of answers your question, Professor Talib.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
And the second question was?
Is it insignificant results?
Yes. So that's another thing. Unfortunately, journals will not publish anything that is not significant. So that's where I would suggest that you collect additional variables, like what I explained earlier. When you are studying a particular topic, don't just collect data about the variables that you intend to study. Add related additional variables, just in case if this didn't work, if it's not significant, then, I mean, I have reviewed one paper that was not significant. And from my perspective, I think we should know. And that's the reason why only 36% of those 100 psychological experiments were replicable. So that means 66% were not replicable, because we are discouraged to publish anything that is insignificant. So, and I believe that's that's my personal opinion, but publishers and editors, they don't share that same thinking and understanding of me, so they would not publish something that is not significant, unfortunately. So kind of mitigating that is to collect additional variables and see how that can maybe work better.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Anybody, guys, do you have any question? Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I want to ask a question, Mohammed.
Yes, please.
Dr. Murad, what will happen when the student does not follow your advice, or when the student does not the paper on time and avoids to do the work that he or she is supposed to do? How do you manage this particular? That's my first. How do you manage this particular action? And the second thing is, I had the rejection from the Journal of Financial with one of my colleagues. It's the top journal in finance, and the guy got so disappointed. So I'm doing his work too now. Okay, just because I don't want to leave the paper. If it doesn't go to the Journal of Financial Economics, to go at least to an A- journal, okay, Journal of Banking and Finance, for example, okay. How would you handle this situation, specifically for the student? Because Dr. Mohammed knows exactly what I'm talking about. How do you manage this thing, okay? What exactly you do in this particular case?
Yeah, let's start with the first question is like, if the students, they are not following what the advisor is telling them. I have had some students that, I would request them to meet regularly, weekly with me, and sometimes I would not see them. They would not show up for a while. So for me, in that case, I would request to meet with them and see, because maybe they have personal problems. So one of my students he had this issue. I didn't see him for almost 2 months and would not respond to me. And it turned out that he had some mental issues that he was going through in his personal life. And I told him, I understand, and we are here to support each other. But this is your future. This is where you are going to decide where you want to be. So I had some students who have been placed in A research, or we call it research one universities,
Yes.
where they get paid they get paid more than 170, 200,000 salaries. And I had one student also, he got placed in a university where he gets paid 150,000. And for you, if you are not doing the work, and actually that's what it ended up, the student, he did his work barely, and he ended up actually in a teaching university. I don't think he makes more than 100. So the thing is, whatever you do today, it's in general, whether you're a PhD student or a doctoral student or even a faculty, whatever you do today, you will reap the benefits in 1, 2 years, 3 years from now. So whatever I am enjoying right now in terms of success, it is because of the hard work that I have done in the past year, 2 years, 3 years, and for a couple of years. So that's kind of, I think, one important aspect that we need to keep in mind when we are doctoral faculty, because that will decide your future. You know, for us as advisors, we can just do too much. But if you don't follow the advice of your advisor, you might actually end up. I had one student, she collected data and she worked hard, but she didn't listen to everything I wanted her to do. It turned out that she collected all the data, but except for the main dependent variable. So in this case, what are you going to do with that data you collected, right? So in that case, it is very important that we follow what the advisor, because they have years of experience, so they prevent us from reinventing the wheel and making mistakes that they have already known, to help you to avoid those mistakes that they went through. And I think that's something very important we need to take into consideration. And I really appreciate all my mentors, whether they are my dissertation advisor or even my mentor here at work. I always listen, and being on time, that's very important, because if we don't go, that's another thing that I emphasize in my class and also with my students that I mentor. If you don't come on time, that means you don't respect me, or you don't respect the
Correct.
the career that you want to get into. So we need to be very sensitive to all of this, kind of to show that we are doing our best. And I think our mentors, our advisors, when they see us that we are working hard, they will help us. They will go beyond, kind of far and beyond, to help us actually get what we want, because they always hope the best for us, because our success as faculty is your success as a student. So when we see you really successful, we brag about you. We are really happy that you are successful, better than us, right? And I think that's kind of, we all share that. So for your second question is about working with co-authors that give up, and I have been suffering from that a lot. I have some co-authors that they are not responsive, and they don't want to do the work. And even if they do the work that is not relevant, I feel like, I mean, this is not even relevant to what we are supposed to do. So that's kind of one thing. I would call it sunk cost.
Yes.
Like that's in finance, right? Or in accounting. You already have invested a lot in this paper, and your co-author is not. So you better just pick it up and learn not to work with this person again, and warn some dear co-authors not to work with this person. I'm
on the right track, okay? That's what I believe, okay? In both cases, your answer. So, but I wanted to feel better, okay? Just to see if it is me or I'm wrong or whatever, okay? But, we are on the right track. That's what I believe, okay? Your answer is similar to the one that I will give, okay? So, but unfortunately, just if you don't finish the paper, it's a waste of a paper, waste of ideas. So I know what exactly is happening now after your remarks, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? So guys, before we end up this talk, I kindly invite everybody just to introduce yourself to our guest speaker, please, by mentioning your name, your position, if you are working at Lincoln University, whatever you want to share with Dr. Murad will be nice. So please. No one? Okay.
I can go ahead if I
Yeah,
have
go ahead.
no. But so my name is Prasamsa Hamal, and I am an alumni of Lincoln University. And currently, I also work as an academic success center coordinator. And on site, I also help our Lincoln Chronicle to publish articles. So it's a very interesting job, and I love every day working there. Also, if I'm able to help students in learning something new, I think that brings me some level of give me some level of achievement. So that's what I do, and I look forward to learning more and more as I delve into this role. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prasamsha. My name is Samane Nademi. I'm from Iran. I'm one of the alumni of Lincoln University. And currently, I work in admission department in our university. I have a quick question. Can I ask you? I want to ask you how this AI improvement can help admission department in Lincoln University to recruit people to attract more students. Is it possible that we can see a significant improvement by using the AI in our department? Or, yeah, I just want to know your perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, for me, when we started actually the Master of Science in Business Analytics 7 years ago, we met with the marketing department of the university, and they asked me, "Can you define the target market for your program?" So define in terms of age, education level, and any deeper kind of detail that you want us to target for advertising when we are using YouTube, social media like Facebook, Instagram. And I gave them the very detailed kind of profile, because that's basically what we are doing, right? Profiling people. We want to target the right profile who is more likely kind of to respond and click on that application to get to join our university. And it has been really successful so far. I mean, our program is one of the steadily kind of increasing program, because we are targeting the right people in the right time and the right place. So yeah, I would say, because those companies like Facebook, YouTube, they use AI, and that AI, is sometimes even you might have experienced it yourself. When you are just thinking about something, you will see an advertising about that something that you are just thinking about it. You didn't even talk about it. So social media, YouTube, and those, they already know a lot. So if you utilize them as AI, because they already have embedded AI in their tools, I think that would be one thing. Just being active on social media, because this generation is very hooked into social media. If you are a private university, you might be allowed, I don't know, at least in our university, we are not allowed to use TikTok. So if you're, if you kind of follow them where they are, our students, they are in those platforms. We need to follow them and get them from there. Some other universities kind of to improve their admission and requirement, I mean, admission and recruitment. They have some students who are running those. So if you have a student worker who can create an account, for example, for a recruitment, and then kind of talk about their experiences in TikTok videos, 20 seconds or whatever, reels and shorts. I think those are kind of some of and I think Maria here in the digital marketing, maybe she has some ideas, right, for those. I think just kind of bouncing ideas and utilizing kind of how AI, which is already embedded in those tools and those companies, how we can utilize them for our advantage as universities.
Exactly, and I think I'll be help here, so I'll introduce myself. I'm originally from Belarus, from Minsk. I've been in US for more than 8 years now, and I received EBA1, so it's basically employment-based first category approval from USCIS recently. I've been with Lincoln all this time, so I've completed MBA here and DBA, but I did study in boarding school in Germany, and I did study hospitality industry in Switzerland, as well as I did complete the hospitality degree in tourism and hospitality from Belarusian State Economic University. And I worked here at Google, at Adobe. And right now I founded my company, which is actually doing the digital marketing for businesses, for B2B. So it's a one platform that has all social media, reputation management, search engine optimization. I can do promotions, basically landing page, web design, customer relationship management is all in one platform. And that solves everything from one platform. You can just schedule. It doesn't have to be like separate. So you can just schedule everything from the platform. Yeah. And control it from there. And of course, you have to know your target audience. Like, it's a huge kind of work. Basically, you need to identify your target audience. And then ads is an extra payment, but the maintenance, all the leads, they all come to one platform, and then you manage them, and then you target specifically. So it's like, yeah.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah. Anyone else, guys?
Hi, I just want to say a quick thank you. My name is Nicole Martian. I'm the head librarian at Lincoln University. I get a chance to work with Mohammed a lot in the Academic Success Center and with Prasamsa in both that capacity and with the Lincoln Chronicle with the students. And I just really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so yeah, this is the time to end our presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Murad, for your time. We really, really appreciate that. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Dr. Tyler. I'm Olanrewaju Marisa. I just want to ask a quick question. I'm a DBA student with Lincoln, and I'm very curious. What would you advise for DBA graduates in terms of prospects? Future prospects regarding how to marry business studies with AI or technology, such that one will still be relevant in the industry, if you understand what I mean, in terms of the future of business and technology. Thank you.
Yes, that's a great question. So I think you have the degree, the DBA, which is very important degree, right? To get into those higher positions in administration, any organization, whether that is for profit or nonprofit, like universities, or even in corporate America. But I believe, maybe I might be biased, but I believe that's kind of the truth, that analytics, AI is a key and will give each one of us a competitive advantage when we have something. We're strong in one area, like for you, DBA, you're very strong in business and practice, but also you have something else that others might not have, which is the analytics, the AI, and how to mesh that with your job. So for example, here we have Samena. She is in recruitment, in admission, so she can utilize AI in that area. So there are, for example, but there are several ways. So let's say that if AI is not part of the curriculum in the DBA program, I would suggest that maybe you can take some of the classes on Udemy, Coursera, that deals with kind of at least introduces you to AI and what it is and how we can utilize it. If it is not maybe an elective course, that maybe at the college, you might have a course somewhere within the college that you are in another department. So you might request to audit one of the courses. And that's kind of how I would advise. I believe it is something that will give you a competitive advantage if you know it. If you don't know it, it might not break, but it will be something really helping you and giving you that competitive advantage and competitive edge. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. You did. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, it looks like people found the subject so interesting. So there's some questions that don't allow me to end this talk. Do you have any other questions, guys? No,
Yeah,
okay.
I actually have one question that I keep forgetting, but that would be the last, I promise. So, like Professor Pantas also mentioned that he is having like some sort of issues with the communication, maybe handling the research and balancing the life with a student. And in the context of that, and also addition to that, Samani also mentioned how she can help Lincoln University to gather more students or help improve the recruitment. So if a student has such ideas or such desires, how can a student communicate these ideas to their professor or faculty member so that it is taken seriously and build a level of a communication? You as a faculty member, how do you suggest like we communicate with the professors in what manner, and what is a better way of approaching professors with the ideas that we as the students have?
That's a great question. So that's kind of a wish list for myself. So I think you asked that question because I'm going to teach this course in the fall, and that's how I plan kind of to trigger the students kind of to present it to me. So what I would like for as a PhD student or a doctoral student to come to me with a research idea is to write the research question. It has to be kind of in a question mark question, right? What are the mechanisms to, for this and that, or does privacy, for example, matter to millennial? The question, it has to be kind of a question that has to have an answer to it. So the first thing is to have a very clear question for the research, and then I need to see operationalization of the variables that you want to include, that you want to study. How are you going to measure that? Because if you think about measuring of the questions, I think that's almost half of the solution. Because I had one PhD student yesterday, she came to me and she wanted to do a research about, she said, oh, I know that you are doing research on trust and job performance, but for me, I want to study, she said, knowledge sharing platforms like Reddit and how that platform use leads to trust, and then trust leads to performance. I told her, for that, you need to first operationalize, meaning tell me how you are going to capture, to measure each of those variables. If you can do that, then come and talk to me. Because it's impossible to capture job performance for someone that is posting in Reddit. I mean, you need to kind of connect the dots. It's impossible. So I give her as an exercise for her to think. And I told her, let's come and meet next week and to discuss your idea. And then she had another kind of, because she wanted to measure the knowledge sharing platform like Reddit. And then she wanted also / generative AI. I told her, well, for generative AI, you can survey people and you can connect all those dots. But for platform, so in other words, to answer your question, so first, they need to have a clear research question. Second thing, identify what are the variables. If they can put it kind of in a visual format like the one I showed, I think that's what another thing that I give my students is a skeleton, and I give them kind of the visual format. I tell them, I want you to put your dependent variable here and any independent variable, at least one here or multiple of them, and show me the control variables. I want you to present that to me. And then how you are going to measure each one of those variables, how some variables we already have kind of measures for them from past research. Just tell me, give me a paper and cite it, say this is the paper, how they cite, how they measured it, and those are the exact questions to measure this question. And then from there, what is the theory? Like, why should we care, or why is this study important? Why should we care? We should always have that, right? And what do we hope kind of to convey? What are the implications? What are the benefits for theory, for research, for practice? What are they going to benefit from this, of knowing this, right? So those are kind of the basic questions they need to be prepared to answer and present during that meeting before they come and talk to me. And I hope kind of those are kind of brief. Kind of, you want me to reiterate or repeat. So number one, clear question. Second, clear models that they want to measure, variables that are measurable and how they are measuring them, and based on what citation references. Second, why this topic is important, why should we care? Third, and fourth and fifth is what are the contribution, what is your contribution to research, what did you add, and what is your contribution to practice, what should they do, practitioners, when they know the results from your work? Kind of those are the basic questions. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. That also helped me understand that if I plan to do any kind of a workshop in the library to help students to understand whether it be APA format or how to present in the class, then maybe I can also like take those ideas and incorporate into my own presentation. So that definitely answers my question. Thank you very much, Professor.
You're welcome. Perfect.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Dr. Murad, thank you so much. It was our pleasure to have you here. It really was very amazing talk. We learned a lot. I hope that since we'll find it useful. So before we end this webinar, I would like to, on behalf of me, to thank your former advisor, Professor Ned, for his amazing software, WordPills. I use it a lot. It makes my job so easy. Please thank him for this great job.
I will definitely convey that to him. Yes, I have been using his software since then. I built my career based on his software, but definitely I will tell him.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Pans, do you want to say something?
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much, okay, for giving us such a beautiful lecture, okay. Thank you for advising our students, and I'm glad that you are hopefully in the near future we're going to see each other very much again, probably in a conference. And you know what? I look forward to meeting you, okay, in person, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Talib, and thank you, Dr. Pantos, and thank you all for attending and this presentation. And if you have any questions, Dr. Talib, he has my contact information. Feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.